Welcome to the 13th episode of the MousekaBros podcast. Hi, I'm Ryan.
And I'm his brother Randy. Be sure to like us on Facebook at the MousekaBros. We will be releasing new episodes every Friday, so make sure you subscribe to get the latest podcast. If you have any suggestions for upcoming shows or just want to say hi, you can email us at mousekabrospodcast@gmail.com.
If you're planning your next Disney World, Disneyland, Disney Cruise Line, or Universal Orlando vacation, you're going to want to reach out to me, Ryan Noppinger, with Capture the Magic Vacations. You can reach me at ryan.noppinger@ctmvagent.com. This is a no-cost-to-use service to use me as your travel agent. I'll make sure you get the best vacation package or deal for your whole family. I can also help make dining reservations and plan fast passes to make planning your Disney vacation less stressful and more magical.
On today's episode, we talk about Disney's live-action remakes. We will start in the past, then talk about the present and future. We will also touch on some rumored live-action remakes in the works. For our first business thing, we have two special guests in the recording studio.
Two special listeners.
Listeners, sure.
So my guest is my wife, Amanda.
Hi.
Is that all you want to say? Just hi?
Right now, yeah.
Okay. And my special guest is my fiance, Katie.
Hi, everybody. Hers was much more elegant than mine. It's a little abrasive.
This is going to be great. I'm just saying.
I'm excited. So first, we're going to talk about some honorable mentions. These are spin-offs or sequels that are based on movies. So we have the 102 Dalmatians, which is the sequel to 101 Dalmatians. The Sorcerer's Apprentice, which is a sequence from Fantasia. Maleficent, which is based off Sleeping Beauty. Alice Through the Looking Glass, which is a sequel to Alice in Wonderland. And Christopher Robin, based off the Winnie the Pooh franchise. So we're not going to include these in our talk just because they're like original ideas. They're based off movies. They weren't already an animated movie remade into a live action. So we just wanted to put those out there.
I had no idea 102 Dalmatians was a sequel to 101 Dalmatians.
Do you know the difference between the two?
Well, I don't know. The second movie?
I don't know. It's just
No, one more puppy?
Maybe. I don't know. I've never seen it. What? So we're going to start with the past, which ranges from 1994 to 2009. So the first one we are going to talk about is The Jungle Book, which came out December 25th, 1994. This was actually the first live remake that they had. It is based on the 1976 animated film, The Jungle Book, if you didn't know the name. That was a joke. Okay. Thanks, everybody.
Wow.
All right.
Put fake laughter in here.
I'm just going to put a disclaimer out now that I'm going to butcher every single name throughout this podcast.
No surprise there.
So this was directed by Stephen Sommers. He's also known for the Mummy series and the spin-off The Scorpion series. They had 5 movies, if you know them. This also starred Sam Neill from Jurassic Park. He was the main character, the old guy, and John Cleese, who you may know as the narrator from Winnie the Pooh and all of the Monty Python films. Other than that, it had some pretty low-level people. All right. It had a budget of $30 million. Its opening weekend, it made $5 million. So that's not really good because that's not a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
What?
I mean, it's like a lot of money, but when you have a budget of $30 million, you still need to make $15 million to even get even. And then you would have to make $60 million.
Do that math again.
What? I mean,
30 million minus 5 million.
20. You're right.
Katie, some Common Core math over there.
Yeah, I guess you guys don't do the math either.
Ba-dum-tsh.
Anyway,
I told you this was a horrible idea.
Its lifetime, it made 43.2 million. So it broke even, but it actually didn't make any profit. So to make profit in the movie industry, you would have to break even and then double what you had. So it would have needed to make 60 million to actually make profit.
The more you know.
Fun fact.
That's Randy.
It was well received by critics, but most of them were angry because it wasn't true to the book written by Rudyard Kipling.
Sure.
Sure. Okay, it's close enough. And it was nominated for Best Motion Picture in 1994.
Which is interesting if it only made $5 million on the opening weekend. And to you, that's not a lot of money, so I don't know.
I mean, if it didn't make a lot of profit, then, like, what were the other movies that were coming out in 1994 that this was the best one? That's my question.
Why would you ask that? Because
No, I'm
we
just
don't have that
saying.
research.
If you just said how bad of a movie it was.
I mean, bad compared to the budget.
Right.
Well, okay. So if people were upset that this wasn't close to the book, the original animated film came out before this, right?
In 1967, that is correct.
Okay, so why are people upset when there's like they're basing it off of movies? Why are they comparing it to the book?
They always compare it to the book.
Yeah, I don't know. Somebody can complain about anything if you give them the right reason.
I'll get Deborah to fact check that.
So the related shows in Disney is there was a nighttime show called The Jungle Book: Alive with Magic. It was used right before Rivers of Light. After Rivers of Light kept getting pushed back, they kind of just got a show together, and it was The Jungle Book: Alive with Magic. And then there was also a live theater show called Journey into the Jungle Book. It was only there for a year, and that was replaced by Tarzan Rocks, which was there forever. And then that was replaced by Finding Nemo the Musical. And it was all in that same theater, just to give you an idea of where that show took place.
Yeah, no. I don't remember the Jungle Book theater show in Animal Kingdom, but I thoroughly do remember Tarzan Rocks as we kicked off that show many times in the past.
It was lovely. We had to do like the Tarzan yell and everything.
Yeah. Precious childhood memory for me. And anyway, I don't know. I'm sure I've seen this movie, but it has probably been way in the past. So I don't know that I'd be interested watching it again with the newer one already out.
No, I agree. It from the cover, it almost looked like it was a type of George of the Jungle type of style. So to me, that doesn't really work for me because I like George of the Jungle more than probably this movie.
You know that's not a Disney movie. Or is it?
No,
Is
I
it?
don't,
No, I
no,
don't think
it's
it
not
is.
it's not a Disney. No, it's not a Disney.
Hold on, I'll write that down for Deborah to fact check.
All right, so moving right along and staying in the past is 101 Dalmatians, which came out November 27th, 1996. So that movie is as old as me.
Okay, thank you.
All right. that's it was based on the animated movie 101 Dalmatians.
Page flip.
This was directed by Stephen Herrick. Maybe. He also directed The Mighty Ducks, so that was a Disney movie. So keeping in the family, I guess. It starred Glenn Close, who plays Nova Prime Rail in Guardians of the Galaxy, and Jeff Daniels, who was in Dumb and Dumber and the Divergent series. So, I mean, they're two pretty well-known actors. I mean, Jeff Daniels is more well-known than Glenn Close.
Yeah. I actually had to look up Glenn Close.
But like once you see like a picture,
I was like,
you're
oh yeah.
yeah.
Wasn't Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah.
Yeah. This had a budget of $75 million. Its opening weekend made $33.5 million. So again, its opening weekend really not doing as well as the budget as they kind of hoped or predicted.
Yeah, but opening weekend compared to the Jungle Book, I mean, that blew that out of the water.
Oh, yeah, no, it completely blew it out of the water.
Yeah, that only goes to show you how much of a flop then that was.
Yeah.
The Jungle
I mean,
Book, yeah.
its opening weekend, it made what the budget was for Jungle Book. So it's definitely like a completely different movie.
Yeah.
And then its entire lifetime, it made $320.6 million. So it definitely earned back its budget plus a little extra.
Yeah, which is crazy. I do remember seeing this movie.
Like in theaters or just like in
No,
general?
just in general. No, just in general.
Amanda or Katie, have you ever seen this movie?
I think so. I'm trying to think, like, because I've seen the Divergent series, and I'm trying to picture who Jeff Daniels is. And I legitimately am drawing a blank.
Yeah, Ryan will look it up for you, but once you see him, you'll be like, oh, yeah. What about you, Katie? Have you ever seen this?
I'm pretty sure I did. And I think this is the only version that I saw when I watched 101 Dalmatians. Yeah, I think it was good. I wasn't a big fan of this movie growing up, so, like, in general, the 101 Dalmatians. But I guess it was pretty good. Cruella de Vil scared me as a kid, so I avoided it.
Is there a villain that doesn't scare you now?
You don't have to answer that, Katie. Okay,
Put
you
her on
know,
the spot.
because I'm right there with you.
That's the whole
Thanks,
point.
Ryan.
That's the whole point. That is Disney's job.
That a villain is scary?
Yes.
A villain is a scary?
Yes.
That's incredible. Do you remember when we were at Disney and we did the Disney Visa photo shoot?
Oh, yeah.
And it was
Oh, yeah.
Kylo Ren.
Insert picture here. You can't because we're a podcast. But if we could do that.
We really don't need to talk about this
To-
moment.
To be fair, it's very intimidating for a person. Like, it's not, I mean, I know they're in costume, but like they're a real person and they're like just coming at you and they're just like staring you down. And it's just, it's intimidating.
So was Halloween intimidating for you when you got like Barbie walking up towards your door, like a 4-year-old?
It's different. It's different.
For those of you that don't know, did you ever share this story with your viewers? I refused to go into the shoot.
No, you went in the first one.
That was Darth Vader. I went into
okay.
Darth Vader
Yeah.
the first time I went to Disney, and I was terrified because he just kept coming over to me and pointing at me.
Because they feed off of that energy.
Exactly. And then the following time we went to Disney, I realized who it was, and I refused to go in. And Randy was pulling me by the arm to try to get me into this family photo shoot, and I just stayed with the cast member.
Happily ever after, I'll tell you. So this movie received a 5.3 out of 10. So that's really
not good.
That's not good.
No, that's like half.
I mean, it's more than half.
Like 0.3 more.
That is correct. Most reviews saying that it was a neat performance by Glenn Close, but it was bland and pointless other than that. There was actually a lot of controversy with this because Dalmatian sales shot up after this movie from impulsive parents buying this. Many owners eventually had to surrender their animals to pounds. So that's sad.
Yeah, and I will say I grew up and I knew somebody that had a Dalmatian, and they are very mean dogs. So they aren't like family dogs by any means.
Well, they're normally fighting fire, so.
Right, so, you know.
Nothing. I thought that was funny.
All right, moving right along. So those were the only two movies really in the past that we were considering. So in the present, which is 2010 to 2018, our first one is Alice in Wonderland, which was in theaters March 5th, 2010, based on the original animated version, which is Alice in Wonderland 1951. This was directed by Tim Burton, who then later produced Nightmare Before Christmas. I thought that was interesting. I always thought he directed it. Okay, keep your comments to yourself then. He also produced Alice Through the Looking Glass, which is the sequel. This starred Johnny Depp as the Mad Hatter, who also played in all of the Pirate Caribbean movies, and Anne Hathaway, who also starred in both Princess Diaries. Katie, I know you love Johnny Depp, and Amanda and Katie, I know you both love the Princess Diaries.
Definitely. Johnny Depp is one of my favorite actors of all time, but really just as Jack Sparrow, because it's weird for me to see him in different roles. Yeah, but Anne Hathaway and The Princess Diaries, super psyched about all those movies.
I actually thoroughly enjoyed The Princess Diaries. I'll say that out loud.
Yeah, he's requested to watch it on one of our movie nights.
I'm probably going to watch it on Netflix at some point.
Which one's your favorite, Ryan?
Probably the first one.
Go classic. Got it.
I mean, you might as well.
Right.
I think you scared him with that question. I don't think he's seen the second one. He doesn't remember it.
No, I have. That's with
Anne Hathaway, right?
where she's the princess and
She has a diary where
wants
she
to get
writes.
married.
it's with Raven Simone, isn't it?
Yes.
Is that a real name?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a real name.
Yeah.
Well,
I
as
mean,
far
it
as we
is a
know.
real name.
See, I watched it. They all got on a mattress and slid down the steps. Not
Yes.
that. Yeah. Anyway, I saw it. Okay.
Did you try that after you saw it?
Yeah. No.
This had a budget of $200 million, and on its opening weekend, it made $116 million. That's a crazy budget.
Yeah.
I just want to be in the room with a quarter of that money. All right.
I can't even fathom that.
You can't fathom it.
No. Put it in
It's-
a room
it's
and I'd be like, wow.
unfathomable.
No. How many? I'd like that in pennies, please. Anyway.
Cool. That's a lot of pennies. Its lifetime profit, it did $334 million. So it did well, I guess. Not really. Because, again, it didn't make its whole budget back.
Well, I mean, I would say it did well enough that they did Alice in the Looking Glass.
Yeah, it made a
so,
sequel,
Yeah.
so it did well enough for that.
Yeah. Which I guess now, I mean, it feels like in the present that now if a movie does all right, they're just throwing a sequel into it, like all of the other original classic films, like Cinderella 2 and Mulan 2. And
Right, no, I mean, but speaking of just doing all right, it actually did win 14 awards, 5 of them being for Best Costume. So it did all right in the box office, but with awards, I mean, that's a lot of awards. Now, that's not just like one award show. That's, global. They have like British award shows, Australian award shows, insert country here award
other
show.
countries, that's the list.
It received a 5.7 out of 10, so still not really doing great with the critics. But most of them said that this is a go and see just for the visual aspect, but not the story itself. It is very different from the animated movie because it deals with like a dragon and all of that. But I don't know much about the books themselves.
I've skipped around, and I think it is more true to the book.
He literally means he put it on the floor and skipped around the book.
Yeah, doesn't everybody do that? Little spark notes.
So it's truer to the book than it is the movie.
I'll say yes, but somebody let me know if I'm wrong.
Deborah, you got that?
I'll look at the third down for Deborah to check. Hold on.
There's no Deborah, by the way.
There's no fact checker.
James McGee, he's the game developer for Alice and Alice Madness Returns. They're kind of like haunted, scary games. So he's very big into Alice in Wonderland. And he stated that Alice didn't have enough screen time. He felt that Alice didn't have any purpose in the story and that she was merely used as a tool. So that's kind of
For the whole
slap.
movie to be called Alice in Wonderland. Yeah.
Yeah, and have someone say this wasn't done well because the story wasn't about Alice, it was about the world and not her.
Yeah.
And it's Alice in Wonderland, not Wonderland with
But I wonder
Alice.
if because it had like Anne Hathaway and Johnny Depp that some of these other bigger characters,
Yeah, they had to give them screen time.
yeah, just to give them screen time because they are who they are.
Right, but once we get into it, looking at the cast for the Jungle Book, the more recent one, like that had so many big names in there. And it was very true to the animated film that if they only had, 5 minutes of screen time, that's all they had, no matter who they were.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that shows for Lion King.
Yeah, no, I agree. There is a Alice in Wonderland ride in Disneyland. It's called Alice in Wonderland. Go figure. All right. Moving on to our next one, which is Cinderella, which came out March 13th, 2015. It's based on the 1950 animated movie Cinderella, directed by Kenneth Branagh. Probably not. Branagh. I don't know. He's really not famous for anything else. Like, he's been in other stuff, but they only been small roles. So it's interesting that they kind of got like a no name to direct Katie's favorite princess. In fact, this entire cast has a lot of people who are just known for smaller roles. Nobody really kind of outstanding that superstar. Other than Helena Bonham Carter? Question mark. She played the fairy godmother, and she's known for Harry Potter and most Tim Burton movies. She was the evil witch. Sure.
Like the main one is like Bellatrix that was like with Voldemort the whole time.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's for everybody who knows that name. Just like, oh yeah, Bellatrix. So this budget, the movie had a budget of about $100 million, which is significantly less than Alice in Wonderland. So that's interesting. An opening weekend made $67 million. Its lifetime making is $200 million. So it definitely did well. Is there a Cinderella 2 in the works?
Where would you go with Cinderella 2?
I don't know. I think there's 3 Cinderellas. I think the second and third one went straight to DVD, like most Disney films.
Like second and third, like not remakes. Like you're saying it's a series.
No, there was a Cinderella 2, like back in time. Cinderella 3, Reverse the Clock. I just made those up. I have no idea what the titles are.
I mean, that sounds legit.
That was,
Copyright.
I think in the Cinderella 2 or 3, there was like another woman who found out who Cinderella was and like went back in time to be Cinderella and like ruin her life. But, villain didn't work out. So I don't know. Look it up. Not now, but.
Deborah. Number, what are we up to? 4? That's 4?
5, maybe?
5. Deborah, check that out.
So most of the praise was from Patrick Doyle, who did the music. He also did the music for the first Thor movie. So that's a fun fact. This received a 7.1 out of 10. So this is definitely Disney's heading in the right direction because their ratings are getting better. There is a notable review saying Disney hasn't lost any of its old-fashioned magic. I feel like that could be like a two-sided comment, just because it's saying like, yeah,
it's old, so
right.
Get up to the times, or
right.
Yeah, but Disney is timeless, so like you can't take that away from them.
I agree with you, Amanda.
Thanks, Katie.
Well, just shut me right down. Alrighty.
Starting next week, MousekaBros podcast.
So it's interesting that it received a 7.1 out of 10 because it was nominated for 37 awards, but it only won 3 awards for Best Fantasy Film, Best Character Hairstyling, which I didn't know was a thing, and Best Costume. So it's interesting that it only won 3 awards after getting such a nice rating and doing well in the box office.
But I think it's just like the name too, like Cinderella. Like you're gonna go and see it just because, like, from that quote of the old-fashioned magic. Like I feel like Cinderella holds more magic than like Alice in Wonderland. I mean, to me anyway. But
it's like one of your first original big Disney princesses, so everybody's gonna go out and see it instead of chilling at home and waiting for it to go to like Redbox or Netflix.
I wonder about how much of these movies that are the popular classic Disney films like Cinderella, what kind of following that has to where I like The Lion King as a classic. So and inevitably, whether it's a horrible movie or a great movie, I'm going to see the new live action Lion King.
Yeah, I mean, how many did they make? 3.5 movies? Because
there was a half. Yeah, which is actually kind of funny.
And that's my favorite movie. I love the virtual ride that was on there. Anyway, off topic. Is that all we have to say about that?
yeah.
Moving on.
All right. So we're going to move to The Jungle Book again, which opened in theaters April 15th, 2016. Doesn't seem like it was 3 years ago that it opened. So this is the second live remake, and it's, again, based on the 1967 version. This was directed by John Favreau.
That's probably what I would have said. John
Isn't it Favre?
Favre. Ah, it's like the Grinch thing. All right. So he is also known for directing Elf and Iron Man 2. He's known to, whenever he directs a movie, to also be in it.
Huh. That's why the last name just rolls off the tongue.
So this cast is unbelievable. I mean, it had Bill Murray, Ben Kingsley, Idris Umbrella, Lupita Nyong, Scarlett Johansson,
There you go.
Christopher Walken, and Katie, you got this.
Giancarlo Esposito.
Beautiful.
Despacito.
This is why we have them on the show,
We can read all
to
the
pronounce
names.
the hard words.
I know a lot of those names probably don't mean anything because I pronounced them wrong. But if you were to look at pictures of them, you would immediately recognize their face.
Yeah, I mean, the ones that I understood you saying, I know immediately.
Cool. So just some fun facts. It has a runtime of 106 minutes, which is 5 minutes shorter than the 1994 remake. It had a budget of $175 million, which is $145 million more. Its opening weekend, it did $103 million. That's $98 million more dollars. It's a lot of dough. It's a lot of change. Its life.
A lot of pennies.
It's a lot of pennies for Ryan.
There's a lot of pennies.
Its lifetime box office did $364 million. That's $223 million. It only took me 3 hours to calculate all that at work with a calculator.
The tape's still running.
It was praised for its visual effects, vocal performances, direction, musical score, and its faithfulness to the animated movie. It received a 7.7 out of 10. So that's good because, again, it just shows that Disney is moving upward with the ratings. There has been talk about a sequel for this with John
Favre.
directing it, but that has been put on hold so John could focus his time towards The Lion King, which he is also directing.
Because money. Focus on where the money is.
And I think, so this is our last one in the present. It is Beauty and the Beach, March...
Beauty in the Beach. Oh, no, we all
Beauty
jumped on it.
and the Beast, March 17th, 2017.
By the way, Beauty and the Beach will be coming out this June to a theater near you.
It is based on the 1991 animated movie. It was directed by Bill Coden. It starred Emma Watson as Belle, Dan Stevens as Beast, Luke Evans as Gaston, and it also starred Josh Gad as LeFou. And Josh Gad is also Olaf in Frozen, so it's a pretty well-known person. He's also done a lot of theater. I mean, they've all done a lot of stuff. I like Josh Gad. This movie had a budget of $255 million, and its opening weekend did $174 million. And we contribute to that about $40 because we saw it at the midnight release. No comments there. Okay. Its lifetime, it did $504 million. So that's a lot. I feel like, again, it's another one of those Cinderella moments that it's just the name itself brings in a lot of people. Plus, it's had so many versions of the movies, plus a musical theater show.
Yeah, I'd see Beauty and the Beach anytime. Beauty and the Beast anytime.
I would also say, just like the actors and the actresses, like Emma Watson, like I'm going to see anything she's in. Like she's one of my top actresses.
Because you're a Harry Potter nerd.
True that.
Anybody got it? Nope, that's it? Okay.
That's it. I'm a Harry Potter.
You got something? No? You have the look? All right. It received general positive reviews with its praise for the ensemble cast, visual production values, musical score, songs, and faithfulness to the original film with a few elements of the Broadway musical version. I will say I do not like that they added the scene where Belle and Beast go back in time and get more of like a backstory on Belle's mother. It was interesting, but then, her mother died from, spoiler alert, I should probably put that out there. She's not in the animated movie, but so spoiler that she died from the plague, because I guess that would happen back then. It's a thing. So I feel like it was very unnecessary. It received a 6.7 out of 10. There was a lot of controversy with this movie because at the very end there was, in quotes, a gay moment in the film, which LeFleur briefly waltzes with Stanley, one of Gaston's friends. In a interview, Bill Codden stated, "Can I just say I'm sort of sick of this because you've seen the movie. It's such a tiny thing and it's been overblown." I can agree with that. I mean, I remember at the midnight release, there was like a group of teens in front of us. And when that happened, they like all screamed for joy. And it was just unnecessary.
Well, I think there was like a build up before, like even before it came out. Like I know some people were saying like, I don't know if I want to see it, if they're changing the whole storyline because it was talked about so much and it wasn't even a big thing.
Right. And even in the animated movie and stuff, like it's not implied, but it's inferred of just how much LeFou does stuff for Gaston. I don't know. It was one of those things that like, yeah, he added it, but it's really not that big of a deal. I mean, because you have two sides of the spectrum. You have the people that are just blowing it out of proportion, but then you have people that are blowing it out of proportion in the sense that they're like in love with it, that it's the perfect thing to do, that it's now the future of movies. And it was like 3 seconds long.
Right.
Yeah, really small. But to your point of that extra scene when they went back in time, just stay truer to the classic film. I'd like the classic film a lot. Actually, in the classic, I actually like the song "To Be Human Again," which actually didn't make it to the original film, but I found it. I can't remember how I found it, but I heard it from somebody that, oh yeah, there was an extra song in Beauty and the Beast, and it was like, I didn't know that. And then I saw it on like the extra bonus DVD clips or whatever, and I was like, why didn't that make it?
Well, Katie, you can correct me on this, but I'm pretty sure that it is in the musical version, if I'm not mistaken.
No, you're correct. That song's definitely in the Broadway. So they included it there, but I don't know why they would have left it out of the film.
And they added 8 other songs, which I'm fine with. They all make sense and go with the film, but I'm going to say, did it almost like feel like kind of like opera-ish at some points? No? Just...
I mean, there were like points, but I think the songs that they added weren't unnecessary and bad. Like, it's not like they put a song in just to put a song. I mean, in the musical version, the Beast has a song, and then they gave him like an extra song in the movie, which I kind of like because you don't ever see him solo. Like, yeah, it's Beauty and the Beast. It's not Belle. So I like that they kind of gave him more role. You get more backstory, more from him.
Yeah, they're a team. I don't know.
Because it's Beauty and the Beach. It's just Belle and a bunch of sand.
Yeah.
All right, so that actually wraps it up for the present. So now we're going to go into future. It's going to be, we don't really have a lot of facts. We're just going to kind of talk about what we're interested in. And the future kind of is from 2019 to 2020.
So for the future, you already said the dates. So to list them off is going to be Dumbo, which is releasing March 29th, 2019. Aladdin, which is due to release May 24th, 2019. And The Lion King, which is just 2019. And then Lady and the Tramp, set October 4th, 2019. Mulan, March 29th, 2020. And Maleficent 2, which is the Maleficent sequel, due for 2020.
I think we can just kind of go down this list and just say what we feel about each movie. So starting off with Dumbo, somebody kick it off.
Okay, so personally, just from the trailer that I've seen for Dumbo, I'm not quite sure how I feel about it because Dumbo, I know he's an elephant, but doesn't speak in this movie, and I feel like you could have added that because like the Jungle Book and like if the animals don't speak in Lion King, it's not going to be much of a movie. But it just seems like it's going to be a really serious and like emotional film, which I would typically really enjoy, but I don't know how I feel about it.
I think when it takes like a childhood like movie that you grew up watching and it makes it serious, it kind of like puts and like the lighting, I don't know, just the mood of the whole movie just it seems
The
dark.
lighting. It's
because
the
it
lighting.
seems
We
dark.
just need
Like
to
you
put
just
more lamps on for
like-
the lighting.
all right, Beauty and the Beach. Like I feel like it just made it's like a darker version. Like I already knew that like Dumbo's like kind of a dark movie to begin with, but this just takes it for a turn.
And I think that's with any Tim Burton film, but honestly, I like that it's Tim Burton-esque and that it will be a musical type of feel. I feel like they might be like, I could be completely wrong, but is the music more like The Greatest Showman in this film?
I mean, I was saying just the look of it. It looks like The Greatest Showman. Like it looks like they're playing off of that feel and that vibe of it.
Yeah, the circus type of feel.
Which, I mean, if it is, then I'll probably love it because I love that movie. But it's still Dumbo, so I don't know how far they're taking it.
I'm kind of with Katie on this. It seems like they were trying to make the movie more realistic in the sense that it's, about an elephant and a circus, which, I mean, the movie is, but adding kind of like those human characters into it and not having Dumbo talk kind of takes me out of the movie. I feel like it shouldn't be called Dumbo. It should be called something else because it's based on an animated movie. So it's interesting that it is considered a live action remake.
Yeah, I'll say that, like, we'll probably go see it in the movies, especially for research purposes, for the podcast. I'll have Deborah buy us tickets. But, I guess for like present, at least us, we haven't been going to see like the newer releases like Pete Dragon or Christopher Robin, those newer films that have been released recently. If I say recent one more time, recently, that we haven't seen and we've been catching them on, Redbox for $1 or Netflix. And so I don't know. And whether it's just the movies that aren't as interesting or that pique interest, but then we watched Christopher Robin and at least I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, I loved it. I was pleasantly surprised by Christopher Robin. I didn't want to see it when it came out in theater for some reason, but watching it was funny. Like we genuinely laughed.
Did I mess up on this list? Does Peach Dragon, is that considered a live action remake or no? Since it was already live action and they just remade the movie.
Well, yeah, I mean it's not. Well, it is.
Because
it's not really
everything on this
animated,
list-
but it's animated.
Everything on this list has been fully 100% animated, remade into live action. But
Yeah.
Peach Dragon isn't.
50-50. Because
We're
really
gonna
only
consider it no, just so I look right.
just so you look official. Yeah, no, but yeah, I don't know. No, I don't know. I was going with that.
Yeah, for
sometimes
sure, no.
maybe. Moving right along, we're gonna swing it right to Aladdin.
I don't know how I feel about this.
Ditto.
Like it's just in my head I have a set, like the voice characters really play a role in this, and Robin Williams as the genie. I don't know if I can. I like seeing Will Smith right now doing it. It throws me off. I don't know.
Yeah, on another note on the genie, I actually saw this on Broadway, and the guy that played the genie on Broadway did a phenomenal job. And I'm wondering why they didn't reach out to him because that was his dream role to ever play. So I'm kind of bummed that they didn't give him a shot, but maybe Will Smith will do a good job.
That would have been awesome because I saw Aladdin with you guys, and that would have been really cool, especially for him to be able to play it. I have to get over the fact that Will Smith is playing the genie.
Amanda is not invited.
Yeah,
to stuff.
I didn't know that this happened. It's kind of like that one time you guys went to Disney on Ice without me. It's fine.
It's fine.
Well, anyway,
That's
there's
different.
that's a different
So-
episode.
They recently did release a trailer that finally showed Will Smith. And it was funny because before the trailer, everyone was saying like, oh, he's definitely has to be blue because that's what the genie is. And if he's not blue, they're going to do it wrong. Then they released a trailer and now everybody's angry because they didn't do it right or he looks like a Smurf. It's actually interesting.
There's always going to be something with the live action remakes that isn't
Right.
true to the
I
film,
get that.
and that's Hollywood.
You can't please everyone.
Wait, so is he just in like a blue costume, or is he actually physically like painted blue?
No, he is physically painted blue, like with no shirt on, as
Right.
the genie would look in the animated movie.
I'm gonna tie it back to Broadway for a second. They put him in like a blue, I don't want to say jumpsuit because it's not a jumpsuit, but like a full blue getup that I think got the point across that was something they probably could have considered.
Right. Yeah. I think if they just like made him, like you were saying, like an outfit that was blue that kind of like we all know what the genie looked like.
Yeah, and who he is. Yeah,
So I just pulled up a picture.
Katie's face.
And
If
it
everybody
is-
could see it,
Yeah.
that's your shock.
It's not pleasing. So I'll show Ryan and Amanda that they are doing him exactly as if the animated movie was remade to live action.
Yeah, I mean, they could have just, like you were saying, even like a blue long sleeve shirt and like regular pants would have been fine.
Now, like, as in khakis, regular pants, or like jeans.
No, like true to the time.
And where is that?
back in the day.
All right.
Alrighty.
But going back to the trailer, it went Jafar. I think on the trailer when Jafar spoke, I was expecting him to have like this like deep voice, and it was like kind of high pitched, and that kind of threw me.
I couldn't hear him because he was Jafar, not Jaclose.
Okay,
I think the joke is Janir.
it still works.
I'm still funny. So I think we kind of beat that to death. Let's talk about The Lion King. I am super excited because one, it looks great, and two, the cast is awesome. I am super excited to see Daniel Glover as Simba, aka Childish Gambino. So I'm super excited to see him. They're shaking their heads no.
No clue.
Alrighty. But yeah, I'm excited about this movie.
It's another one I'll see. I think I'm most excited out of this whole list to see The Lion King because of the hype. But yeah, it's going back to the cartoon, and I mean even like Dumbo and like the remake. It's going to be interesting to see how they play it off.
My guess is that they'll have it feel like the Jungle Book a little bit with the animals, at least part of it. Interesting that there'll be no humans actually in it.
Yeah, but to counter that, in Jungle Book, there was one human.
Yeah, no.
So
Well,
it's a live action remake. It's not live human remake.
It had a
It's
human.
not like a bunch of people with puppets dancing around. Oh, wait.
oh wait, that's what.
That's the Broadway.
No, but I guess out of the three, I know there's three more that we need to talk about, but out of the three, I feel like I'd see Lion King first before Aladdin and Dumbo, and then probably Aladdin and then Dumbo third. I mean, I'm excited to see all of them, but on this list, more excited about The Lion King.
Katie, do you have anything to add?
I think you guys pretty much covered it. I'm excited. Don't know how it'll turn out, but I'll give it a shot.
All right, so moving on to our next one is Lady and the Tramp. It's interesting that it is coming out October 4th, 2019 is its date, but I feel like there hasn't been anything about it. There on IMDb, there's not a lot of information about it. There's no trailer that's been released yet, so it'll be interesting to see if it even gets pushed back.
I had no idea this was even in the works.
Same. This is a surprise to me.
I'll go ahead and get Deborah on that to fact check that because
Are they
who knows?
Are they dogs or are they human? Like, is it going to be like a human? I mean, it has to be Lady and the Tramp.
Is,
like, it
is
has
Lion,
to be.
Is Lion King a bunch of humans in skin tight?
No.
uniforms.
The genie, though? We
Cats.
just went over this.
Well, the genie is a genie. The genie has blue mist under his legs to look like he is floating or flying.
Yeah, I'm just going to say, I had no idea. Until this paper was in front of me, I had no idea that Lady and the Tramp was being remade.
I also don't know if I've ever seen the original of this to be able to compare it at all.
Add it to the list.
Yeah, I guess I got to add it to my list.
dog.
So we have a list that Katie needs to watch.
In order to be in this family.
In order to be in this family, and they're all Disney movies, and we have 15 left. 15 or 14. We're trying to watch one a month till we get married. Oh, we're cute.
So romantic.
Aww. Insert heart noises here.
Insort.
Insort.
Insert.
So then
Beauty and the
let's
Beast
talk
here.
about the Mulan remake, which will be interesting. It'll be interesting to see if they stay true to the movie. Like the original animated movie, because the animated movie feels very short. It's very rushed. The call comes, and then she takes the uniform. She's in the camp. Then they fight the Huns, and they fight them again. And she wins. It's a very short movie, so it'd be interesting to see how much they add to make it a longer movie. Because I feel like nowadays movies are almost like 1.5 hours or 2 hours.
I know this is your favorite movie, babe, but sarcasm here. But I'd be interested to see how far they take Mulan, a woman, going into a man's role in this film, and how they'll embrace that through this, which, for something of 2020, would be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like to make the movie work, you have to make her look as manly as possible. Like in the cartoon, it's easy to kind of be like, okay, she cut her hair so she looks like a boy now. Like that's not going to be the case in live action. And I'm also worried about like how far are they going to take like the fighting scenes and like the Huns, like how dark is this going to get?
How scary, too.
Right. Because I mean, the Huns in in the cartoon, that's pretty scary.
I think after Katie and I watched it, after the big avalanche, and the Hun's arm pops up, I think Katie actually jumped.
Right.
Yeah, I did. I'm also worried for the amount of controversy that might come with this film too.
Yeah.
Talking about the whole how far can you take her to be a man's role? Also, when they are like the guys turn in and dress like women, that's another point that could be a huge point of controversy. And with the violence being Disney, where's that balance?
Right. I mean, if people were already worried about, Beauty and the Beast and, that one scene, this is going to be, a bunch of men dressing as women. What are they going to say about that?
It's really funny to listen to everybody talk, and then Katie talks, and she's just so educated that she just like says everything in like 5 words, and everybody gets it.
We're explaining. Yeah.
Sure.
So let's talk. I mean, we don't necessarily have to talk about Maleficent 2, but we can if you want. I'll just say
I have no feelings.
Yeah, I don't think there needs to be a second one. I think they're doing it just because it did well.
Yeah, because money. Yeah. The other first one did well, made enough, so why not?
Is this the one with Angelina
Yes.
Jolie? So is she going to be playing in it again?
I would assume.
Yes.
I mean, cool.
And that's about it. I mean,
Right.
So then we are gonna. So that is it for our future. Well, we're gonna jump over to the rumored. We don't consider them in the future. I mean, they are. They are gonna be in theaters sometime in the future. There just is no dates, so that's why we wanted to kind of put them in their own category.
So the list consists of Cruella. This would be an original story for Cruella de Vil. Pinocchio, Hunchback, Lilo and Stitch, and The Little Mermaid. Again, we can just go down the list if you want and just talk about each one. Like, so Cruella, interesting, cool spinoff, I guess.
I don't think, like we were saying before, I don't think 101 or 102 Dalmatians did well enough to have like a spinoff of the villain. Like, it doesn't seem necessary.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I feel like they're almost doing it because Maleficent did well. So now they're going to kind of go through this series of doing all of the origin stories for the villains. But like even in Maleficent, it changes your perspective because, you know, she wasn't really that evil. She was only doing it out of love for sleeping for Aurora. But like Cruella, like she is just evil. Like she just wants to have the dogs as her coat. Like she is just evil.
She wants to kill puppies.
Yeah, and wear them.
Right. So like now you're going to have a movie about like kind of being on her side.
PETA.
Peter's gonna have a fit.
Peter's going to go off.
But like, does this feel like it's a Star Wars thing where it's like Rogue One and Solo type of thing, where it's like the off-brand?
Yeah,
it's
like,
still on the storyline, but because they have money, they can just come up with characters in their stories.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that they are just going to start going through, like, they have Cruella. Next, they're going to have just, you know, Hades. They're going to have Hun. That's all the Huns. He's going to have his own movie. Like, they're going to go through every villain and have a backstory, which isn't cool.
I mean, I'd be good with an Ursula. I think that would be probably the only, like, villain.
Right, because they, in The Little Mermaid, they talk about, like, oh, they weren't kidding when they called me, well, a witch.
Right.
Like, that means that stuff has gone down before.
Right.
But, like, you don't need to know anything about Scar. Like, just read Hamlet and you'll understand it. Like, you don't need to know about Frollo from Hunchback. I don't know. It's just, yeah. All right, moving on to Pinocchio.
I don't think it was Disney, but they did have a live-action Pinocchio movie that came out, and Pinocchio the story is, to me, Pinocchio the story, I don't know what much more you can do with it other than that he's a wooden boy and wants to be real, and that's...
Yeah, I think they've had a couple different versions of live-action Pinocchios, but they haven't been officially Disney affiliated or Disney remake. So they all have their different spin on them.
I would hope that this one gets canceled.
It also just weirds me out of how he would look when he's wooden. Like, I don't know. I feel like that would just creep me out and then be in my nightmares.
He's already in mine. That's why I don't want this to happen.
I also feel like Pinocchio, I don't want to say isn't relevant, but like, I don't know how much of it's brought about in the parks. I don't know how like relevant it is in like children's stories nowadays. I don't know. I don't know if it's like really relevant to do that.
So in Fantasyland, there is a Pinocchio's Daring Journey, which is a dark ride, which kind of goes through the story of Pinocchio as if you were riding it. It's kind of like the I'm trying to think of what you would know, the Winnie the Pooh ride.
In Disneyland, you mean, not fantasy? I mean, I guess it is, but it's in Disneyland, California.
Right. Did I not say that?
No, you just said like, you know.
Oh, sorry. Well, yeah, it's in Disneyland. So it's kind of like the Winnie the Pooh ride, how you go through a story.
Although that one is dark. It's abrasive.
Well, it's a dark ride.
No, but I'm saying like it's a dark theme like to it, and they cuss in it.
What?
They cuss in it. Like he's going around the corner, and they see it
because he's a donkey.
So he says, "Don't be a jackass."
Makes sense.
Which I guess would be interesting in this day and age to see how that would go. Bunch of kids running around saying that.
Wouldn't it be funny
after the movie?
They just change it to like R and it's just Pinocchio on the streets, just cussing, dropping F-bombs and everything.
Not really.
We can skip Hunchback and come back to that because I have a lot to say. It's my favorite movie.
Oh my. Okay. So Lilo and Stitch. Again, don't think they need it.
I'm super interested.
No, but see, I think it would like compete with Moana. Like, I would rather see a live action Moana than a Lilo and Stitch. Moana. How are you gonna like? I don't know how you're gonna do like Lilo and how you're gonna do Stitch. And I mean, I would see it probably more so than these other rumored ones. But I mean, you take something as beautiful as Moana, and then you're gonna compete with a live action Lilo and Stitch. I don't think it's gonna work.
Moana literally has an island that comes to life.
But I would much rather see that live action.
like it's a tree island that turns into fire.
Because they stole the heart.
Pretty. It's so pretty.
You don't get it.
But I mean, Lilo and Stitch. Now you're talking about aliens. The aliens.
Awesome. Yeah, but I mean, they had the ride, Stitch's Great Escape.
I did great.
Rest in peace. I loved it.
I can't stand it.
Amanda did it with me
Yeah,
once.
Randy and I got to ride it right before it went out.
So that was awesome. Katie won't do it. It's too scary.
No, Katie and I will sit out every time. 99, 100% of the time.
Yeah, 99. I want to get that 1%.
I mean, I would see it. Like, I would be, just because I like the storyline, but I don't know how well it would do.
All right, so moving on to Little Mermaid. I'll kick it off by saying I would rather see a Ursula movie than a Little Mermaid movie.
Agreed, yeah.
They get rid of Cruella, and I don't think you need a Little Mermaid, but do an Ursula. Yeah, that would be interesting. You could still almost have the Little Mermaid in the Ursula movie as a kid mermaid.
Right. So, or like kind of like Lion King 1.5, where it's all done from Timon and Pumbaa's perspective of the whole movie.
Yeah.
So if it was Ursula, maybe doing like a little bit of background, but having the entire movie from her perspective or something, I think that would be cool.
Yeah, no, that would be cool. And if they did that with Cruella, that would just, it wouldn't make sense because I feel like 101 Dalmatians isn't a well-known enough live-action movie and classic animated movie.
I mean, because that's how Maleficent was. Maleficent started at the beginning of her life, then goes into Sleeping Beauty time, and you see it from her perspective, and then like kind of post-Sleeping Beauty.
Which is cool because you're like, oh, I kind of don't remember the Sleeping Beauty movie, and then it's like, you see it from Maleficent's side, and you're like, oh yeah, I remember that happened, or oh yeah, she was cursed, that kind of thing.
I'm intrigued to see if they'll bring any like dark features to this movie, because they have the chance to maybe reference some of like the original story, or even when they're in like Ursula's part of the ocean, that could be a really scary or dark part. Wondering if they would take that far.
It'd be interesting to see. I'm not sure how different the animated movie is to the musical, but it'd be interesting to see if there's any elements from the musical that they would bring into the live action.
How are they going to have those actors sing underwater like that? That's crazy. A lot of breaks.
Moving on to Hunchback. Yeah, I'm super excited about this. They are bringing the original music writers back. One of them is Alan
Menke?
Yeah, something. He did the original music for Hunchback and the music for Aladdin.
I got a lot of Disney films.
He's done a lot.
Yeah,
so it's pretty cool that he's coming back. Katie, for my birthday, got us tickets to Hunchback of Notre Dame, the musical. So that was awesome. That was an experience. She was nervous going into it, but then loved it. It was phenomenal. So,
but it's also not the Disney story that we saw. It's the original story, but with the music.
Right. I mean, it's closer to the book than it is the movies. That's why it didn't go to Broadway and just kind of is in local theaters.
I did like the animated film for this, so I'll be interested seeing it. Not that I know as much as you with it, but I did like the classic animated film, so I'll see it.
I almost wonder if they're doing a live remake just because they put him into Happily Ever After, so he's kind of starting to get that like popularity again.
Yeah, could be. I really liked the live action show they had at MGM, which now is Hollywood Studios. That was really good. Why they got rid of that, I mean, I guess to catch up with the times, but it was really good, and I wish they would have kept it.
Oh yeah, because Disney is really good with keeping up with the times, like Tomorrowland Contemporary. They're so good with the times.
Disney is timeless. We went over this.
Well, I think we kind of talked about everything. We talked about all the live action remakes.
You guys got anything else?
All right.
All right. Well, if you enjoyed this episode, leave us a review as it helps us improve the show. And as always, be sure to subscribe to our podcast and follow us on Facebook. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.